Hello everybody. This is Elissa from Mank Arts and Crafts, and today we are on to our next episode in the flower delivery comparison series. So this is where I am comparing version 1, version 1 is over here, and version 2 of flower delivery, so you guys can see how the rendering compares worked up side by side of these two kits. So this week I did finish another section, which you can kind of get a sneak peek of right here, of the two kits. So we will get right into it. I wasn't going to, of course, Mylin is going to be loud and noisy and breathe heavily to get my attention, so you're going to hear pug grumbles and pug breathing in the corner right there. I wasn't going to go through and show the drills again, but I decided as I go through, if I'm able to kind of downsize any of my drills in the course of a week as I'm going through and kind of like progressing and making progress on the canvases, then I decided I'd go ahead and show you guys that progress. I was not able to do anything downgrading the size of any of these three that you see here. For the first, I'm like so close to being able to take the drills in this particular container, which you can see is down quite a bit. I'm so close to being able to take these down from this size container into this size. So this is what I call the medium, and this is what I call the large, because the tall one here is an extra large in my book, and these are the smalls. So that's how I classify them in my brain. And I am so close. The next section that I do does not have very many of this drill like the previous section did, I don't believe. This is version 1. Actually, it does have a lot of this drill. So this next section does have a lot of this little black dot that you can kind of see sneak peeked right there. So I should be able to take these ones down into the next step down, which would kind of take it down so I'd have one less kind of sticking up from here. I haven't really gotten much into these ones, and that's one of them that I'm looking forward to being able to take these ones down, but those are going to be much further down in the canvas before I get into this particular color, because that's one of the darker colors in this kit. So that's version 1. That you can see that I've still got all three stacked up, kind of being big and bulky, which I don't like, but it got all of my drills without, because I don't like having to have some of the drills in a container and then some of them in a baggie. So I literally will put all of my drills into the container, but then at the same time I like to be able to have them in one container if possible. And this was how I was able to work it, so they could all be in one container. So that is version 1. On the other hand though, which I was excited about, as you can see here, I was able to condense these ones down on version 2, which you can see has the 2 trays here. Just a few on the second tray, so when I'm working them up, they sit like this. On the second tray here, or the first tray of version 2, I was able to kit them down, not kit them down, I was able to condense them down. This is the one that was standing upright. However, I have used enough of this color here, this triangle purple. I've used enough of this tone throughout the wisteria that we have over here that I was able to actually move this one from this size container into this size container, which then meant I could take the sticker from the top and turn it onto its side, and then this one, which was in a larger container, just got moved into a smaller container. So that made me happy, because now all of these are laying on their side, and I have the 2 stacks that can stack like this, and now I can have all 3 containers, boom, and I can just move them from spot to spot easily. And now we will go into the reveal here. So here we are. And kind of the stats, I'm not going to go into the details of each painting or each canvas. You can look back into my previous video to see those details. I am going to tell you version 1, to complete this next section that I did right here. This section right here took me 3 hours and 28 minutes, so it did take me longer than the previous section, but there was less of the color blocking. This had a lot of color blocking. This had still a fair amount of color blocking, but significantly more confetti right through here. And then also a little bit more because I was able to start onto Kiki's hair right here, and then a little bit of this ribbon. This section took me longer. It took me about 22 minutes longer to do this section than it did the previous section. So there was a little bit longer timing wise that it took to move from the first to the second section on version 1, and I did see a similar trend on version 2, as you can see. So the sections are the same size. Section 1 and section 2 are the same size on each canvas in comparison to the previous section, but you can see here this is a large swath of color blocking right here, but this section actually had significantly more color blocking than the previous, whereas this one had very little color block, or well, confetti. This one had a very little confetti. I think I was saying that, like, color blocking. This had a lot of confetti right through here, and not as much color blocking. Large swath there, but small area of confetti, much larger section of confetti, so it did take longer to do. This had large regions of color blocking, just a very small region of confetti, not a lot, and then the rest of it was color blocking. This one I did have this large area of color blocking here, but then the rest of it coming through here, this whole area pretty much was, I'm feeling a drill pop underneath my finger that I need to push down, and now I need to find the drill. Can't find it. But this whole region, there it was. This whole region right through here, the whole thing was confetti, so this took a lot longer to do this whole area here than it did the previous section. So this one took me 4 hours and 43 minutes to do this section, whereas the previous one only took me 4 hours and 24 minutes. So it was an increase in time by about, it was actually only 19 minutes more to do this section than it was here. So even though this was a smaller section, the confetti was more intense here, which you can see that's a much more intense confetti than what you have there. So it's kind of interesting, and that kind of holds true to the fact that smaller canvas, more confetti, bigger canvas, yes, you have confetti, but it's not going to be as intense confetti as what you're going to have here. And as we look at the two, you can see, as I mentioned in the previous video, I'm not going to go over all of the details, so these videos are going to be a little bit shorter than what we had for some of the other ones, because I'm not going to rehash everything. You can watch previous episodes of my comparison series. They're all going to be in the same playlist. You can go back through and watch them to kind of get the feel for it. But as it's unfolding, you can see there's some very significant differences as we look at this. The colors are very different. Like here, this is a completely different color right through here. Like, look at how much redder that tone is than the color right here. That is not red at all. That's more of like that peachy color there. A lot of the other colors, relatively similar, but there's this greenish gray right here in the window. And this is like a blue right here. It's definitely not this greenish gray. It's totally a blue gray. No green tones at all. The other tones, kind of a similar color family right through there until you get into the window, and that's still a blue gray. That's 100% a green tone. You come down here, this is like an orangey peach here with that splash. That's red, like a, not really red, but it's like a much redder tone than what you see there. You come into Kiki's hair and you can see already the rendering and the detail that you have for Kiki's hair, significantly more detail here than what you have over there. And here, what's interesting is on this side, you don't have any kind of outline of her bow, whereas on this side, her bow is outlined in the black and a little bit of 310, which is kind of interesting that they chose to do that on this one. Yes, it makes it stand out and kind of pop a little bit more, but this, it kind of like blends in a little bit and kind of gives it more of a realistic effect, because really, is her bow gonna like stand out like that and have that outline in it? So I thought that was interesting that they made this side of her bow outlined in 310, whereas this side was not outlined in 310. So I just thought that was another drill that I had to pop in. I thought that was a very interesting effect that they chose to do right here for the bow that they did not do over here on this side, because that bow is definitely not outlined in 310. And I don't know, there's a lot that I'm liking more about this one, but then that detail right here where they didn't outline the bow. I kind of prefer that over here on this canvas. I don't know, I just kind of like how it blends in a little bit more and doesn't stick out as far as the bow itself, because I feel like it lends a little bit better to the softness for that. But again, I'm just seeing a portion of the effect. I haven't started into her face. This is just the hair. So as I work a little bit further in, I'll get a better feel for it. Here, this is a much whiter cloud. Here, this tone here, much whiter. I think this one's actually it's a 3866 is the color. So much more whiter tone. It's like a off-white tone, not quite the 3865, but that tone is much whiter. And here you can see it's got more of that off-white beigey tone to it, which is a significant toning difference. And I'm still kind of at that point where I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this off-white tone or this really beigey tone here. I think I kind of prefer the white of this to that off-white over here. It does go well with the tone of these ABs, and I know ABs never really come through well on the camera and the lighting here. I do like all of the AB and the fairy dust that we have here coming down with those fairy dust. And then you have the fact that we have more of these greens coming in here, a little bit better. And I like the tones of the greens here. These greens I feel are a little bit too bright. They're very like bright green compared to the greens that you have over there. But already it's very interesting seeing these differences. I'm constantly finding more of these drills. This is part of why I don't care for the squares as much as rounds. I don't have to pop drills in place when I work with rounds like I do with squares. And it's like, I don't like having to constantly like run through and feel. And I do use my handy brayer to go through and kind of roll this and press it in. And I do that like every section I'm pressing, and I'm using a fair amount of force when I do that. I'm using some muscle to roll it in. One, it helps kind of seal the drills into the canvas to get them nice and firmly placed, but two, it helps to put any drills that are kind of like partially up and down. I do notice I'm not the best placer when it comes to squares. Just for me, I'm not a perfectionist when I'm doing this, and I make a point of forcing myself to not be a perfectionist, because it's very easy for me to be a perfectionist, and that I would get so into the nitty-gritty details of it that I would stress myself out by trying to be perfect in my placement. So I force myself not to be a perfectionist. But I do notice that these drills and the gapping that I have over here for the version 1 canvas, you don't see nearly as much gapping. And I use the same exact pen for both of these canvases, but you can see the difference. Not nearly as much gapping here as what you see in the placement over here. Like, you can see it just from this distance already. So this may be one of them that, depending on how it looks when I'm done, I may have to go through and try to, like, you know, pull them different ways. I'm not a perfect placer in any way. But again, you have to view this at the viewing distance, not like the up close where I'm like 18 to 24 inches away from it. But still, that kind of bothers me because this is such a huge swath of this lighter tone, and you see all of this gapping right through here. And part of why you see the gapping like that is because I'm working on this way, because I work on all of my canvases sideways like this. That's just my way of working. But anyways, that's something that I do not like in this big swath of beige blah. I'm not a fan of beige. That's like, to me, that's like a contractor white. If you've ever moved into a house and the walls are this color, that's like the first thing that I do is paint the walls so they're not that contractor white blah color. Anyways, so as you can see, this is really interesting and fascinating working it up and seeing how vastly different this looks. Like, I love the crispness over here. I love that crispness, and I'm loving all of the extra special drills that I'm having over here on this side, and it's coming together really nice and seeing it form up as we go. But then there's still parts of it that I'm enjoying about here. I'm loving, like, I love the size of this canvas over here. It's a beautiful size. This is a beast of a size. It's huge, you guys. It's huge. So and that's something that we'll see as it progresses, and see, you know, how my thoughts are as we continue going down. and go from there. But as you can see, both of them are beautiful kits. There are definitely reasons I can see already why they decided to move and do it again in this larger size. But there's still parts that I'm enjoying and loving about this. And I'm like, you know, yeah. So I'm just enjoying the process and comparing the two. So anyways, this was the next section completed right through there. So that's section 2. And we will move on and see how much I get done in this next week moving forward. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this next section. Now we're going to be moving down into Kiki's torso is my next area that I'll get to work on. Kiki's torso. So I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.